Hello, so today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to do some tips to make sure that you deliver an awesome presentation for your final as well as in the future. Public speaking is a necessary part of being able to compete in a corporate 21st century world, especially as people become more and more integrated in cooperation, as well as getting people to see your points of view or convince potential jobs and colleges that you're worth the time and investment. Take these tips to heart. I've learned them over many years and discussed with them several other people. You may modify them as you see, but basically, these are some common tips that can be used to make sure that you deliver presentations that are top notch. Let's take a look at them. Number 11. The focus should always be on the speaker. We can be tempted to use the slides as an excuse to not talk as much, but humans prefer personal interaction. All slides and pictures should go to support the speaker, not take away from. In presentations, the focus should always be on the speaker. The reason being is that the speaker is the one giving you the detailed information. Therefore, all the slides, pictures, etc. should always go to support what the speaker is saying. The focus should always be on the speaker, never what is on the screen. The screen is only meant to help the speaker highlight key points or ideas. Be careful with animations. Animations, when used too much, can take away from the focus. Use only if you want to have a point highlighted. Even then, the animations should be brief. This is important because otherwise, animations can take away from the points that you're trying to make. People will watch the animations instead of listening to what you're trying to say, and it becomes distracting and oftentimes frustrating. Remember to breathe. Nervousness and adrenaline make us forget to breathe while speaking. This will naturally cause a person to speed up and sound rushed. Pause every few seconds for a breath. This also adds a great chance for listeners to catch up. Let's compare breathing and not breathing with this short paragraph. The goal of this project is to create an aquaponics garden located in an inner-city, low socioeconomic grade school. This garden would be in partner with the neighboring high school, which is also an inner-city, low socioeconomic school. The goal of this project is threefold. The first is to introduce basic scientific principles and next-generation science standards by involvement in an active ecological setting for students in the community. Second, to allow students to visualize creatively and expand upon the knowledge of where the food comes from and how it arrives at the table. And lastly, to allow a mentor program for high school students to support and mentor grade school students in an academic setting, creating a big brother, big sister network for grade school. Whew, that was a lot. Also notice it became more and more rushed. You've lost a fraction of the information and were paying attention more to the slide because the speaker was boring. Let's see what happens when we add a breath to it. The goal of this project is to create an aquaponics garden located in an inner-city, low socioeconomic grade school. This garden would be in partner with the neighboring high school, which is also an inner-city, low socioeconomic school. The goal of this project is threefold. The first is to introduce basic scientific principles and next-generation science standards by involvement in an active, ecological setting for students and the community. Second, to allow students to visualize and creatively expand upon the knowledge of where their food comes from and how it arrives at the table. And lastly, to allow a mentor program for high school students to support and mentor grade school students in an academic setting, creating a big brother, big sisters network for the grade school. Notice your brain is able to wrap around it a little bit more. It also doesn't sound quite as rushed, really allowing the listeners to pay attention to what's coming out of your mouth and what's being shown on the screen. Number 8, know your client. Your client/audience is coming to you with backgrounds, experience, and perceptions. You must cater to this. Use references or vocabulary they are familiar with. This also can be added to what they're comfortable with. For example, I would use very different vocabulary if I was doing a presentation to small grade school students. If I had to deliver the same content, but to an audience of older adults in a forum setting, I would use a different vocabulary. If I was giving a business presentation to people of a different ethnic background, I would make sure that I was delivering content that they could be familiarized with. Even still, at a college setting, I would use very different analogies and other such. By doing this, you're allowing to cater to your particular audience, as well as be able to give them something that they can wrap their head around. This is nice because then they feel that the presentation is personally catered towards them. Number 7, give time to let information sink in. Many presentations are ruined because the presenters get uncomfortable with the silence and don't stop talking. This leads to audience disengagement due to overload. Use pauses to your advantage. You can keep the audience interests in your presentation. Pauses are not the enemy. Consider, if you will, this idea that with pauses, it allows the presenter's brain to catch up. Now, this may be uncomfortable, but let's take for an example a 1 second pause and really notice how long it is. That was 1 second. Not too long. It may seem like an eternity when you're presenting, but really, to the audience, it's kind of nice. Imagine a movie where all the people did was just talk without any pauses. You'd get bored within the first few minutes. How is that any different from an audience watching your presentation? While the pauses may be uncomfortable, they are necessary. Consider that. Number 6, body language is important. Think about what your posture says about you. How much are you showing when you think no one is watching? Practice what you are going to say in front of the mirror so you can observe your body language and adjust. Body posture can speak a lot. For example, in this picture, pointing is seen as an aggressive gesture. The arms crossed indicates a closed-off gesture, and the hands on the hips indicates a condescending or superiority complex. These are common postures that students do when giving a presentation. It is frowned upon. It makes the audience feel not connected to what you're having to say. Make sure that you practice proper body posture. What proper body posture is: back straight, shoulders back, eyes forward, feet shoulder width apart, no fidgeting or aimless pacing. In other words, wandering around with no purpose. This is a diagram to demonstrate what proper body posture should be. Relaxed. In terms of the hand motions, I'll show you those on Monday, as they are a little bit tricky, so that way it doesn't look like you're just a board. Number 5, explain your pictures. Pictures are a valuable tool to draw attention to key points or explain complex processes. Many people include pictures in their slides that have nothing to do with what is on them. For example, here, with the conclusions, a person who is tired. Consider what that means about your presentation. While you may get a chuckle or two out of the unique picture, you've lost and taken away the attention that was deserved on your product. Many people do poor presentations because they get excited and overly creative. While creativity is a positive in presentations, too much can be distracting from what the true essence is supposed to be. Another problem with this is oftentimes people include pictures that have nothing to do with what's on the slide. Let's take, for example, this one. Studies have shown that people look at pictures more than written text. So if you have a picture that does nothing to your point, for example, these children, your eye is drawn to the children, and then you go to the words, and while I'm talking about something else, it becomes problematic. Your brain gets confused and thus disengaged. Proper technique is having pictures that highlight the slide that you're trying to do. People who sleep on spring mattresses have more pains in their joints. Notice, I have a picture of a spring mattress, as well as targeted joint areas where pain is. I'm using the pictures to highlight my points, to really capture them, as opposed to simply add something different. Number 4, use bullets as key points, not point makers. Short bullets are ideal. They're meant to highlight the key points you are saying. Consider when you've seen a slide with lots of text. You read the first line, maybe the second line, and then you get incredibly bored and you don't read the rest of it. That's a lot of information that's been lost. That information could be said orally with the key points shown over the bullets. Good bullets contain the following: the ability for a person to put your talk and words together, and the ability for flow, not jerky. Number 3, make it personal. Most people care about others and themselves. Your product should do the same. Show that you are truly invested in this product in a professional manner. People don't want to give their money or time willy-nilly. They want to know how it benefits them or others directly in line with what they believe in. Your product should do the same. Consider and tailor your product and how you're going to present your product to the audiences that you're going to have. This will make them more inclined to like your product and give you the money or the attention that you deserve. Number 2, everything has a purpose. Everything you say or show should be relevant to your presentation. Even if you are not speaking, your presence and posture speak volumes. Consider when you've looked out on an audience at a presentation and you see people not paying attention. You get disappointed and ultimately upset. You should also reflect what you want in your product. By having high energy and keeping yourself attentive and excited, your audience will feel the same way. Good presenters, even when they're not speaking but are standing up there, are constantly engaging the audience either with eye contact, smiles, or nods to what the person speaking is saying. This allows people to feel that there's an energy in the product, a positive energy. And the number one tip, be honest. People appreciate you being straight with them. If your product lacks something, admit it and suggest that you might implement it later. In the era of social media, where connectivity is key, people can share instantly many reviews or opinions on a product. This can either make a business successful or doom it to failure. Consider this scenario. Scenario 1. A customer A has lied about the product's capability. They buy the product but end up dissatisfied when the flaw appears. They become very upset. Consider the implications of this. The person becomes irate, goes on social media, and now that producer of the product ends up in a very deep situation where they have lots of people refusing to buy a decent product because they were lied to. Consider this scenario. A customer is told honestly about a potential flaw in a product with a suggestion by the sales rep. After several minutes of debating, the customer decides that the product is worth it. They buy the product and take the steps suggested by the retailer and end up satisfied. What are the implications of this? You end up with a very satisfied customer who then spreads the word and will return later when a need arises for a similar type of product. Instead of just having a client salesman, you've actually ended up creating a mini friendship with this person who will come to you as their needs arise, or as friends of theirs have needs arise. This guarantees an infinite amount of income based on honesty. Consider that with your products.